actually came up here to put these cards on the table, and then I ended up standing next to Deborah and talking to them. But it's from the new website and campaign called Close Guantanamo, which we're trying to make a focal point throughout this year to get as many people as possible to sign up to say that enough is enough. And there is also a White House petition on the We the People website that we've established that also we want to get as many people to sign up to as possible, just to show that, that whatever we hear about people not caring, that's not true. And it's to claim back some of the conversation that I think has been taken by right-wingers, by Republicans, by people with a horrible vested interest in trying to keep this thing going. And they've been dominating the conversation, and we need to take it back. So we'll be discussing all that and more afterwards. Thank you again. So great to see so many of you. We'll talk afterwards with Tom Wilner and with Mari Newman and Dal Kilmer, who are from Denver, who represent 5 Yemenis in Guantanamo, and they'll be talking about their clients, which I'm very excited about because I think it's extremely important to get the stories of these prisoners out. First-hand knowledge from these guys of the people they represent in Guantanamo, humanizing them, removing this terrible stigma and the dehumanization that's happened for 10 years with the prisoners in Guantanamo. So thank you again. Okay. Apparently we're not quite ready. Another technical glitch. The news from Guantanamo that I will let you know about is that the men there have embarked on a peaceful protest and a hunger strike, obviously to mark the 10th anniversary of the opening of Guantanamo. And some of the men who are there have told their attorneys about this in advance, and it's been cleared through the Pentagon censorship process that it's able to be talked about. They have mentioned it to the staff in Guantanamo, so hopefully we're not going to have any repression taking place in Guantanamo itself on these men. Although, you know, it's worrying to hear that since August, the new commander at Guantanamo is a man whose reputation is that he's taken to punishing infringements of the rules with a kind of savagery that hasn't been seen since the early days of Guantanamo. I think that's rather worrying. But the story that's come out of the prison is that the men particularly want the world to know that they're not happy with the way that everything is being portrayed. That what's being portrayed about Guantanamo is that it's now a humane facility. It's run very well. There's nothing really for people to worry about. They don't want the world to get the impression that they're happy being there, because they're not. What I also think has been significant and quite touching is that they've heard about the event that we're all involved in tomorrow. They've heard that people are going to be protesting in significant numbers. And they want to express their solidarity with the people who are protesting on their behalf. They're very grateful for the interest of people, and they want to show their support. So I'm very pleased to be able to report that. The story, as I was told, particularly came from 2 prisoners in Guantanamo, and one of them didn't want his identity to be revealed. The other man is Shaka Armour, and he was happy for his name to be revealed. Shaka Armour is the last British resident in Guantanamo. And he's a man who I hope, over the course of this year, those of us interested in carry on campaigning for the closure of Guantanamo will be able to focus on his case. Because if you've been following, and I'm sure most people in this room know about the kind of provisions that have been included in legislation passed by lawmakers to prevent the closure of Guantanamo. One of the stipulations in there is that the Defense Secretary has to provide a statement to Congress to say that it is safe to return. If the government wants to release the prisoner, the country that the prisoner is being released to is safe. It was a provision that was introduced because lawmakers had got themselves into all kinds of hysteria about people being released to Yemen or to Afghanistan, or once they started thinking about it, their checklist pretty much went on forever. Now, one country that I would think it would be surprising if it was included was the United Kingdom. I've no doubt that there are a few lawmakers who wouldn't mind standing up and calling the United Kingdom a terrorist nation, but I don't think there'll be many of them. There has been no closer ally in the war on terror for the United States than the United Kingdom. And Shaka Armour, who was cleared for release by the Bush administration, who we know has been approved for release by the Obama administration, the British government wants him back. He's a British resident, he has a British wife, he has 4 British children. I can't see any reason why the Obama administration is not capable of saying to Congress, this man, at least, must be allowed to leave the prison. And the important thing is, at the moment, is that nobody can leave the prison easily at all, particularly because of these impositions by Congress. It's extremely difficult for anyone to leave. So finding somebody that we can focus on is a good idea. And I think that we can focus on this and know that it won't just be in the United States, that we will be also mounting a campaign on Shaka Armour's behalf in the UK. I think it's a message that we can make global. Let's get this man released. I'm very glad to hear that Shaka was prepared to speak out from his isolation cell. He's in Camp 5, where the prisoners are kept in isolation. He's been there for many, many years because he's regarded as a threat by the authorities because of his influence on the other prisoners. Shaka Armour is essentially a human rights activist held in Guantánamo. From the very beginning, when he was captured 10 years ago, he campaigned for the prisoners to fight for their rights. He was one of the first people to encourage the prisoners to go on a hunger strike, to be treated as human beings. And I believe that he's still regarded as such a threat, not because of anything that he did before he was captured, but because of the way he has tried to take on the injustice in Guantánamo. But that's why he's still in Camp 5, where other prisoners, in a similar situation, a handful of prisoners who were regarded as having a great influence over their fellow prisoners, people who are able to motivate their fellow prisoners to complain about the circumstances in which they're held. So Shaka Armour has bravely spoken out and put his name to the news that has come out of Guantánamo, and I very much hope that he's not going to suffer as a result of it, but I think it's very brave of him. So that's the news from Guantánamo. How are we doing for the film? We can do it. I can shut up now. Okay. Thank you very much.